Hi, kids. I hope that you're doing well and that you're being really, really good for the sub. I've had classes in the past that get good reports from a sub, and, that's okay. But I really, truly feel like you guys have the capability of being outstanding and being the best class ever. So I can't wait to come back and see on Monday just how well you've done while I've been away. I wish I was there with you right now, but I am hopefully in Nashville by this point. Fingers crossed if I made my flight. So I'll tell you on Monday all about my fabulous weekend. I'm here once again to read to you from our beloved Walk to Moons. You remember where we last left off. I kind of left you off in a horrible place. Sorry, but it was right when um, Sal went to Phoebe's house and Phoebe said, I have a note. And it wasn't like one of those messages she got on the front porch. No, it was a note left on the kitchen table and it read, keep all the doors locked and call your father if you need anything. I love you, Phoebe. It was signed, Mom. Now, you already know, we heard from page 1 that there's something about a disappearing mother here, and I think we're starting to see what exactly has happened. I didn't think too much of it. Phoebe, I said, I know. It doesn't sound terrible or anything. In fact, my first thought was, well, good. She knows I'm old enough to be here by myself. I figured she was out shopping, or maybe she even decided to return to work, even though she wasn't supposed to go back to Rocky's Rubber until next week. But then Prudence came home and opened her note. Phoebe showed me the note left for Prudence. It said, please heat up the spaghetti sauce and boil the spaghetti. I love you, Prudence. It was signed, Mom. I still didn't think too much of it, but Phoebe was suspicious. Prudence made the spaghetti while I helped Phoebe set the table. Phoebe and I even made a salad. I do feel sort of independent, Phoebe said. When Phoebe's father came home, Phoebe showed him his note. He opened it and sat down, staring at the piece of paper. Phoebe looked over his shoulder and read his note aloud. I had to go away. I can't explain. I'll call you in a few days. Take a minute right now and turn and talk to the person next to you. What do you think has happened? Go ahead, talk. Okay, let's keep reading. I had a sinking feeling. Prudence started asking a million questions. What does she mean? Go away where? Why can't she explain? Why didn't she tell you? Did she mention this? A few days? Where did she go? Maybe we should call the police, Phoebe said. I think she was kidnapped or something. Oh, Phoebe, Mr. Winterbottom said. I'm serious, she said. Maybe a lunatic came in the house and dragged her off. Phoebe, that's not funny. I'm not being funny. I mean it. It could happen. Prudence was still asking her questions. Where did she go? Why didn't she mention this? Didn't she tell you? Where did she go? Prudence, I honestly cannot say, her father said. I think we should call the police, Phoebe repeated. Phoebe, if she was kidnapped, would the lunatic, as you say, allow her to sit down and write these notes? He stood up, removed his coat, and said, Let's eat. As I left, Phoebe said, My mother has disappeared. Sal, don't tell a soul. Not anyone. At home, my father was slumped over the photo album. He used to close the album quickly when I came into the room, as if he were embarrassed to be caught with it. Lately, however, he didn't bother to close it. It was as if he didn't have the strength to do that. On the open page was a photo of my father and mother sitting in the grass beneath the sugar maple. His arms were around her, and she was sort of folded into him. His face was pressed up next to hers, and their hair blended together. They looked like they were connected. Phoebe's mother went away, I said. He looked up at me. She left some notes. She says she's coming back, but I don't believe it. I went upstairs and tried to work on my mythology report. My father came to the doorway and said, "People usually come back." Now I can see that he was just talking in general, not trying to be comforting. But then, that night, what I heard and what he said was the tiniest reassurance of something I'd been thinking and hoping. I had been praying that a miracle would happen and my mother would come back and we would return to Bybanks and everything would be exactly as it used to be. Turn and talk again, and this time discuss what you think as far as, is that a possibility? Is Sal hanging on to a hope that will never come true? Or is there a possibility that she can get her mom to come back and that life will be like it used to be? Can you turn and talk to the person next to you about that? All right, let's come back together because it's your lucky day. I'm going to read another chapter. It's a short one, so if you're really lucky, I might read 2 more. Chapter 21 is called Souls. At school the next day, Phoebe wore a fixed expression, a sealed, thin smile. It must have been hard for her to maintain that smile because by the time English class came around, her chin was quivering from the strain. She was extremely quiet all day. She didn't speak to anyone but me, and the only thing she said to me was, "Stay at my house tomorrow night." It wasn't a question, it was a command. Mr. Berkway gave us a 15-second exercise. As fast as we could, without thinking, we were to draw something. He would tell us what we were to draw when everybody was ready. "Remember," he said, "don't think, just draw. 15 seconds. Ready? Draw your soul. Go." We all wasted 5 seconds just staring blankly back at him. When we saw that he was serious and was watching the clock, our pencils hit the paper. I wasn't thinking. There wasn't time to think. When Mr. Berkway called, "Stop!" everyone looked up, dazed. Then we all looked down at our papers, and a buzz went around the room. We were surprised at what had come out of our pencils. Mr. Berkway zipped around, scooping up the papers. He shuffled them and tacked them up on the bulletin board. He said, "We now have everyone's soul captured." We all crowded around. The first thing I noticed was that every single person had drawn a central shape. A heart, a circle, square, triangle. I thought that was unusual. I mean, no one drew a bus or a spaceship or a cow. They all drew these same shapes. Next, I noticed that inside each figure was a distinct design. At first, it seemed that everyone was different. There was a cross, a dark scribble, an eye, a mouth, a window. There was one with a teardrop inside that I thought must be Phoebe's. Then Mary Lou said, "Look at that. Two are exactly the same." People were saying, "Geez," and "Whoa," and "Whose are those?" The duplicate designs were a circle with a large maple leaf in the center, the tips of the leaf touching the sides of the circle. One of the maple leaf circles was mine, the other was Ben's. I think this means that they're soulmates. They were meant to be. Chapter 22 is called Evidence. I spent the next night at Phoebe's house, but I could hardly sleep. Phoebe kept saying, "Hear that noise?" And she would jump up to peer out the window in case it was the lunatic returning for the rest of us. Once she saw Mrs. Cadaver in her garden with a flashlight.